Mm. Good morning, dear Dharma friends. We get another day. I'm not sure if I had all my switches right. I just attempted to play Raffi. Love all I really need. Well, live to Facebook. Yes. It's a little drizzly here today. The outer weather. I am grateful that you made the effort to come, to walk in the doors of the Dharma Hall, to create sacred space together. And I have, in my ramblings around poetry this morning, I came across this familiar one. Naomi Shihab Nye, wandering around in the Albuquerque airport. Naomi is a Palestinian woman who lives in New York City. I had some communication with her, and she said, use her poetry in any way I can. So, with permission of the author. After learning my flight was detained 4 hours, I heard the announcement. If anyone in the vicinity of gate 4A understands any Arabic, please come to the gate immediately. Well, one does pause these days. Gate 4A was my gate. I went there. An older woman in full traditional Palestinian dress, just like my grandma wore, was crumpled to the floor, wailing loudly. Help, said the flight service person. Talk to her. What is her problem? We told her the flight was going to be 4 hours late, and she did this. I put my arm around her and spoke to her haltingly. Shu dua, shu bibduk, habibti, shtani shwe, min fadlik, sho bit sawi. The minute she heard any words she knew, however poorly used, she stopped crying. She thought our flight had been canceled entirely. She needed to be in El Paso for some major medical treatment the following day. I said, no, we're fine. You'll get there, just late. Who is picking you up? Let's call him and tell him. We called her son and I spoke with him in English. I told him I would stay with his mother till we got on the plane and would ride next to her, southwest. She talked to him. Then we called her other sons just for the fun of it. Then we called my dad, and he and she spoke for a while in Arabic and found out, of course, they had 10 shared friends. Then I thought, just for the heck of it, why not call some Palestinian poets I know and let them chat with her? This all took 2 hours. She was laughing a lot by then, telling about her life, answering questions. She had pulled a sack of homemade mamoul cookies, little powdered, sugary, crumbly mounds stuffed with dates and nuts out of her bag, and was offering them to everyone at the gate. To my amazement, not a single person declined one. It was like a sacrament. The traveler from Argentina, the traveler from California, the lovely woman from Laredo, we were all covered with the same powdered sugar and smiling. There are no better cookies. And then the airline broke out the free beverages from huge coolers, non-alcoholic. And the two girls for our flight, one African American and one Mexican American, ran around serving us all apple juice and lemonade, and they were covered with powdered sugar too. And I noticed my new best friend. By now we were holding hands, had a potted plant poking out of her bag, some medicinal thing with green furry leaves. Such an old country traveling tradition, always carry a plant, always stay rooted to somewhere. And I looked around the gate of late and weary ones and thought, this is the world I want to live in, the shared world. Not a single person at the gate, once the crying of confusion stopped, has seemed apprehensive about any other person. They took the cookies. I wanted to hug all of them, too. This can still happen anywhere. Not everything is lost. So, dear beautiful Dharma friends, let us find a way to sit comfortably upright. Let us notice the aliveness which is the human body, this body. It's alive, isn't it? It's rather weighty. Gravity. The great mass of the earth and the mass of the body attract each other. So please, let us notice the pressure. The pressure of the body against the chair or the cushion. Let us notice the contact of clothing. There's a lot of contact with clothing with the body. In my experience with young children, toddlers, sometimes they don't like the feel of clothing. They're always taking it off. And here it is. We don't have to do anything to create these sensations. They just are. And it's useful to remind ourselves of the three gems, the triple gem, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. To recognize that which is awake here. The Buddha. To recognize the descending lineage which carries with it the teachings, the Dharma. And this Dharma, this truth, this way things actually are, blazes at us in every sense door. There are sensations. Some are pleasant, some are unpleasant. There are thoughts. There are emotions. It's all alive. The Dharma, I take refuge in things as they are. And the Sangha, the community of practice. This lineage of transmission from the time of the Buddha through times of great ease and times of great difficulty. We have been supporting one another for centuries to come together to practice. And each breath shines out like a beacon like one of those lighthouses that marks a promontory on the coast. Each lighthouse has its own series of flashes and durations, so a mariner can tell which one it is. Each breath is similarly distinct. It's this breath right now. Sometimes mindfulness is particularly strong. It can notice the very first beginning of a breath. It can be present in the most intimate way, with rising to fullness and declining and then to vanishing. This is sometimes paired with concentration, being in the ascendant. So the mind isn't wandering much, it stays focused rather easily. These both develop as our practice matures. Other times the hindrances are in full sway. We may have to up-level the game and observe wanting or dissatisfaction, craving. We might discover disliking in the mind, pushing against reality. We might discover restlessness and agitation, or sloth and torpor, or doubt. These, quote, hindrances are the raw materials out of which we weave awakening. Time and again, we notice the mind doing what minds do. And then we come home with great kindness and love to this breath, right now, right here. With mindfulness, there is a tendency, a propensity to remember. There is sitting happening. There is a body of life. The tendency is to say, well, this is my body. Perhaps it's more accurate to say there is a cloud of sensations. One coordinate for this cloud would be hands. There's sensations. Another would be face. There isn't really a face, is there? There's just life. We sit like a rock. There is something so simple, so utterly profound happening. There is awareness, and there are sounds. There's awareness, and there are touches, warmth and coolness. Does it seem true that you create this awareness? Or does it simply exist? The mystery of life occurs, and we are it. There are sounds and the knowing of sounds. There are sensations and the knowing of sensations. There are thoughts and the knowing of thoughts. One of the pseudonyms for the Buddha was and is the most compassionate one. The teachings are laced with compassion. And it both requires compassion and generates compassion to sit in practice. To be willing to experience the body as it is, capable of such extraordinary pleasure and such excruciating difficulty and pain. To put down our distractions and intoxications and hyper busyness, and to experience what's really happening in our lives with the fluctuation of gain and loss, fame and disrepute, health and sickness, success and failure. To awaken to this requires profound compassion. And it's not something fancy. The Buddha described compassion as the sensitive heart's natural trembling when faced with suffering. A companion of compassion is, of course, sympathetic delight and joy. Taking great delight in our own pleasure, our own success, our own well-being, and similarly in the success, pleasure, well-being of others. So whenever there's discomfort, whenever there's pain, we don't shy away from that. It's there, it's real. And so we can turn toward it. Feel it fully. Embrace it, actually. Just as we would hold a hurting child kindly, sweetly, so when there's sadness or fear or depression or loneliness or that sense of meaninglessness that sometimes comes, we embrace that. And it's imperative that we put aside the denial that this even exists. sounds, startling sensations in the body. And then the system just gently resets itself, calms. There really are no distractions in this awakening to life. Everything that comes along, we turn into love and compassion and awareness. Every sensory experience sings the song of impermanence. And let us remember that we share this little beautiful dust speck of a planet with countless beings. We share the fact of coming into birth and going out through death. Recognizing this, how can we not be loving and compassionate with each other? It's so natural. May all beings everywhere share in the merits of our practice. April 8th, 2022. Please join me in delighting in the faces that are gracing our screen. There's a fantastic practice from, oh dear, Richard Lang, The Headless Way. Remarkable truth is accessible in any second. And one goes like this. Pick a face. Pick one face that you can see here. And then pay close attention to that face. And if you were sitting alone in a room, or even if you had a cotton tube, of which I have several, between you and this other face, how many faces are in this dyad? How many faces do you experience? We tend to say, well, two, yours and mine. Is that true? Actually, right now here with me, that's not true at all. There's only one face, and that's yours. As Richard Lang says, you fill me. And what's me? What's my experience at my end? It's awareness. It's a vast, illimitable, limitless field of awareness. And we're conditioned since childhood. We look in the mirror and we develop an image, a fantasy of a face. But the experience of this moment isn't of a face, it's of you. That's kind of weird. And to drive the car, practicing headlessness, of course, one stays mindful. This is the essence of mindfulness. But to drive the car, there's a 4-mile straightaway I get to drive, going to the center, and I often go headless, which is just to be aware of all this stuff, these cars and trees and sometimes pedestrians, and they all come rushing toward me, and then they disappear into me. It's not a thinking exercise. It's a perceptual exercise. It's a seeing the Dharma exercise. So, anything you'd like to share this morning, my friends?
Robert, this is Had.
Hello, Had.
Hi. I want to share something which is here and now for me, but it's a bouquet of memories. I want to thank you for reading Naomi Shihab Nye, and the bouquet of memories is I like to go to bookstores and hear authors read. That's been a habit and a practice of mine, and I'm just delighting in recalling a bookstore in downtown Portland. It was called Looking Glass, I think, something like that. But I saw Naomi Shihab Nye read there with Kim Stafford, and it was so fun to realize the many authors you have read in the past year or two in this Zoom sit practice. And I want to share that I saw Wendell Berry there and Kim Stafford and Ursula Le Guin and the woman who wrote "That's Funny You Don't Look Buddhist," a teacher from Spirit Rock. I
Oh,
can't
Sylvia
recall their
Boorstein.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Sylvia Boorstein. And just what a joy it is that occurred for me. That bouquet of all that, seeing all those authors that you triggered by reading Naomi Shihab Nye's delightful poem about the angst in the airport and the glory of our community when we come together and how that can be a real presence for us. So I just wanted to share that bouquet of memories that sprouted in my brain, as we said.
Thanks,
So
Had.
thank you. Yeah. And good morning.
Good morning.
I could share something.
I hear someone.
It's Ananya.
Where are you? Oh, there you are.
Here I am. I want to say that the discussion about tea yesterday led to something really important for me. And that was, I realized how, holding my tea has been, and starting my meditation that way, has been a part of my practice. Oh, maybe 40 years. And that it's like a tea ceremony for
Uh-huh.
me. And that I take a few sips, it keeps me awake, gets me here early in the morning. And then it sort of settles into my hands and becomes this warm awareness. And then eventually I just forget tea altogether. Somehow I put it aside and I sit and I sit and I sit. And what developed for me was that I realized I'm only getting started in the morning here with you, and that I really need to sit longer after we get started here. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm appreciating that this morning meditation with you, like my tea, is the setting that I need to go deeper, further. And I, as a result, made a commitment to continue my meditation after we meet in the mornings.
Nice. Hmm.
So thank you.
Thank you, Ananya.
Hello, uh, this is Pam.
Hi,
Can you
Pam.
see me?
I can. Yep.
Hey, I don't share very often, but I had something extraordinary happen to me, and I guess I should. It was so amazing that maybe it would benefit someone. Um, so I need to tell a little story here. Uh, a couple of days ago, I was coming back from Minneapolis on the plane from a trying time with my family. And um, it's a 3 hour flight from Minneapolis to Portland. I'm pretty quiet on plane rides. I don't talk very much. I'm watching movies, I'm reading. I was in a row with 3 people. I was on the aisle. I had a lady in the middle and another woman on the window. And I would guess they were in their 40s, maybe. none of us really talked much until the plane landed in Portland, and we're taxiing to the gate. And the lady on the window struck up a conversation with the lady in the middle. And I heard them talking. And the lady in the middle says, I started out in Rapid City, South Dakota this morning. My mother is in ICU in Salem Hospital. She's very sick. I'm racing to get to her bedside. I've been in communication with my sister, who has come up from San Diego, and she's crying. And she says, I'm trying to hold it together. But when I get to Portland, I have to wait for an hour and a half for the shuttle before I can even get to where I need to go. And I'm doing the best I can to hold it together. And the shuttle would drop me off in Dallas, Oregon at about 8:30 at night. And my ears are perking up because I live in Dallas, Oregon. Yeah. So I finally put my hand on her sleeve and I said, I live there. I'm going to pick my car up. I'm going to drive home. I can take you. And she's crying. And she says, you would do that for me? And I said, of course I would. Of course I would. You don't want to wait an hour and a half. I mean, for a shuttle, your mother needs you. So this amazing thing is unfolding between two perfect strangers. And she says to me, well, okay. So I said, we'll do this. So she says, what is your name? And I give her my name and my first name. And I say, what is your name? And she gives me her name. And we get off the plane and don't know anything at all about each other. We go to the baggage claim. We're waiting for her bag. And then we will catch the shuttle to the park and fly. So while we're waiting for her bag, she's on the telephone with her sister, who is at her mother's bedside at the ICU in Salem Hospital. And she looks up at me and she says, my mother has passed. And she cries. And I hug her and I hold her and she cries. And I'm so sorry. And it was a poignant and it was a poignant moment. So she gets her bag. We go to my car. We get on the road. I learn in the 1.5 hours to get to Dallas, I learn all about her family, her mixed blended family. And we get to Dallas and I drive her to her mother's house where her sister is. She gets out of the car and I leave her there in the embrace of her sister at the door of her dead mother's house. I wish her well and I drive home. And I spent the evening in a kind of a reverie of something extraordinary and totally serendipitous that happened between two strangers. And one never knows. One just never knows. I never even learned her last name. I don't even know who they are. So there you go. And I believe the more we do this work somehow and open up to the loving kindness, the loving kindness orientation that maybe this is what happens to us. I don't know. So that's my story.
Thank
And I
you,
will
Pamela.
leave.
That was very beautiful. I feel like you just gave me a gift.
Yeah,
You let me share in that. You let us all
Yeah.
share in that.
yeah. She let me share in her life. It was a gift to
Mhm.
me. I was as blessed as she was.
Yeah.
And at some point she said, I said to her, I think this is a godsend. There's something happening here. And she agreed with that. So
Beautiful. Well, perhaps that might be a fine spot to pause. Let us sing our way home. May all beings receive all blessings. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu.
Have a fine, mindful day, dear friends. And
Well, all. Take care.
thanks for being here.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Dalton.
My pleasure. Beautiful story.
Yeah.
You fine people.
Adios. All right. Good.